For decades, Karrie Webb stayed silent while critics whispered, but at 50, the golf legend is finally setting the record straight. This is an exclusive look into the real story behind her legendary career. She's finally pulling back the curtain on the accusations that tried to define her. We'll take you through her rise, her struggles, and the quiet power that secured her place in golf history. This journey will keep surprising you. We've pulled exclusive details from ESPN and LPGA to bring you the full picture. Stick around until the end to hear her powerful definition of real success. It's a truth every athlete and dreamer needs to hear. Let me give you a little backstory on how a small-town girl became a global golf icon. Karrie Webb grew up in a small town called Ayr, tucked away in Queensland, Australia. It's the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, and at the time, fewer than 9,000 people lived there. Life was simple, and opportunities were limited, but that didn't stop Karrie from dreaming big. She was introduced to golf when she was just 8 years old. While most kids her age were focused on school or playing with friends, Karrie fell in love with the game. She spent hours practicing on the local course, often under the hot Australian sun, honing a natural talent that very few people could deny even back then. While most kids spend their weekends at the beach or the movies, Karrie stayed at the golf course from morning until sunset. Her parents would sometimes pack her sandwiches just so she could keep practicing without stopping. For Karrie, it wasn't about fun or fame. It was about chasing something inside her, a dream that felt bigger than anything her small town could offer. In a country where sports like rugby and cricket usually stole the spotlight, young Karrie quietly worked her way into becoming a standout. She didn't come from wealth or privilege. It was pure dedication, passion, and grit. Her coaches quickly realized they had someone special on their hands. She wasn't just good, she was determined in a way that set her apart from other kids. Early on, it was clear that Karrie Webb was chasing something bigger than just small-town trophies. By the time she turned professional in 1994, Webb didn't just make an impression, she made headlines. She didn't waste any time showing the world what she could do. Just 2 years later, in 1996, she made history by becoming the youngest ever player at the time to win the LPGA championship. That same rookie season, she won 4 tournaments and topped the money list, something almost unheard of for someone so new to the tour. She had a style that combined steady nerves, sharp focus, and almost machine-like consistency. Whether it was the LPGA or the Ladies European Tour, LET, she was a serious threat every time she teed it up. Throughout her incredible career, Webb collected 41 wins on the LPGA Tour, putting her among the best of the best in the sport's history. She also won 7 major championships, a mark of true greatness, joining the ranks of golf legends like Annika Sorenstam and Patty Berg. In 2005, she earned her place in the World Golf Hall of Fame, becoming one of the youngest people ever inducted. It was more than just a trophy or a title. It was proof of how much she had changed women's golf and how deeply she had left her mark on the sport. But even with all the fame and success, Webb stayed true to who she was. She didn't crave the spotlight. She wasn't flashy or loud. Instead, she stayed focused, serious, and private. To some fans and reporters, she might have seemed distant or hard to read, but those who knew her personally often described her as incredibly loyal, thoughtful, and deeply dedicated to her craft. Karrie Webb's story is a powerful reminder that greatness doesn't always come from big cities, fame, or loud personalities. Sometimes it starts quietly, with a young girl swinging a club over and over again on a small-town golf course, chasing a dream that would one day inspire the world. Now that you know how Karrie rose to stardom, let's uncover the whispers that tried to bring her down. As Karrie Webb's career took off and she kept piling up wins, not everything behind the scenes stayed positive. Whispers started to circle inside the golf world, little comments and quiet criticisms that grew louder over time. Some people, including players and insiders, said that Webb was too intense. They thought she took things too seriously, that she wasn't as outgoing or friendly as others on tour. In a sport where players were expected to smile, joke around, and fit into a certain mold, Karrie's laser focus sometimes made her stand out in a way that others didn't always understand or appreciate. Back then, female athletes were often judged by how charming or likable they appeared, not just how well they performed. If you weren't bubbly enough or constantly smiling for cameras, you risked being labeled difficult or unapproachable. For Karrie, choosing to stay serious and focused meant that she quietly pushed back against a system that wanted her to be something she wasn't. The media also started to shape a certain picture of her. Some articles and interviews hinted that she wasn't media-friendly enough. She wasn't the player who cracked jokes at press conferences or made herself available for endless interviews. Instead, Webb kept her head down and let her golf do the talking. For some journalists looking for sound bites and headlines, that wasn't enough. They often framed her as too competitive or even cold, even though Karrie was simply focused on the things she loved most, playing at the highest level. During the early 2000s, a few small controversies popped up, mostly blown out of proportion by media outlets hungry for drama. A serious stare on the course, a quiet post-match interview, a moment where she didn't give a long, emotional answer to a reporter's question. Little things turned into bigger stories, feeding the idea that Karrie Webb didn't get along with others or that she wasn't a people person. But when you look closer, most of these incidents were simple misunderstandings, moments when a hard-working, deeply private athlete stayed true to herself in a world that wanted her to be someone else. Another piece of this whisper campaign involved comparisons to other players, especially American stars like Annika Sorenstam and Julie Inkster. Whenever tensions flared in tournaments or rivalries heated up, something totally normal in sports, the stories tended to frame Webb in a harsher light. While male athletes were often praised for their fiery competitiveness, Karrie's drive was sometimes used against her, as if being focused and wanting to win were flaws instead of strengths. In reality, Webb wasn't trying to be difficult. She just didn't fit the box that many people expected her to fit into. And while the whisper campaign hurt her reputation for a while, it couldn't take away what mattered most: her amazing performances, her record-breaking career, and the respect she earned from those who truly understood what it took to stay at the top. Stay tuned, because Karrie's most important lesson about true success is still coming, and it's worth every second. Now, if you thought winning made everything easy, wait until you hear what Karrie quietly endured. While Karrie Webb looked calm, tough, and unstoppable on the outside, what was happening behind the scenes was a very different story. Fame can be a heavy thing to carry, and for Webb, the pressure that came with winning so much and doing it at such a young age took a real toll on her mental health. Week after week, tournament after tournament, she felt the weight of expectation. Every time she stepped onto a course, the world expected her to win, and if she didn't, there were questions, criticism, and whispers all over again. There was another layer to Karrie's struggles too, something even more personal. Although she kept her private life quiet, many people inside the golf world knew that Webb was part of the LGBTQ+ community. At the time, there were very few openly LGBTQ+ athletes in professional sports, and in the early 2000s, especially in the conservative culture of golf, coming out publicly could have hurt her career. Sponsorships, fan support, and even tournament invitations could have been at risk. Webb made the choice to keep her personal life private, but living with that secret meant carrying extra stress everywhere she went. Adding to the difficulty was the environment itself. Professional golf, especially back then, was very much a male-dominated space. Resources, media attention, and sponsorships overwhelmingly went to the men's tours. Even when women like Webb were dominating their fields, they were still fighting an uphill battle for respect. For Webb, it meant working twice as hard to get half the recognition. It also meant that when she wanted to speak up, whether about her achievements, her struggles, or her life, there were very few people who truly understood what she was going through. Traveling the world sounds glamorous from the outside, but for Webb, life on tour could be painfully lonely. Most of the time, it was just airports, hotels, and golf courses. Friends and family were often thousands of miles away. In interviews later on, Webb spoke about how isolating it could feel. The quiet moments in hotel rooms, the long flights, the empty spaces between tournaments. When you start to wonder if all the wins are worth the sacrifices. Through it all, Karrie Webb kept showing up. She kept winning. She kept pushing herself to be better. But it's clear now that the cost of greatness wasn't just physical, it was emotional too. Behind every trophy and headline, there was a young woman carrying the weight of expectations, judgment, and silence, all while trying to stay true to herself in a world that wasn't always ready to accept her. Now that Karrie has finally spoken, let's listen to the real story behind her strength. For most of her career, Karrie Webb stayed quiet about the stories, the rumors, and the pressure she faced. She focused on her golf, kept her circle small, and let people think what they wanted. But as she reached 50 years old, something shifted. In a few rare interviews, Karrie finally opened up about everything she had carried with her, the pressure, the misunderstandings, and the loneliness behind her success. In one emotional conversation, she said, "I played for the love of the game, not the love of fame." Those few words captured so much. Karrie never chased the cameras, the headlines, or the glitzy lifestyle that often comes with being a star athlete. She cared about the work, the quiet hours of practice, the little improvements, the beauty of getting better at something she loved. Fame, in many ways, was just a side effect of chasing her passion, not something she ever really wanted. Webb also spoke about how hard it was being judged for things that had nothing to do with golf. She admitted that being labeled cold or difficult stung, especially when she was simply doing what male athletes were often praised for, being serious, competitive, and determined. When you're a woman succeeding in a traditionally male sport, intensity is expected, but then it's used against you, she explained. It wasn't that she didn't care about people or friendships, it was that she needed to focus all her energy on surviving and succeeding at the highest level. For the first time, she also talked about the personal sacrifices that came with her journey. Missing family birthdays, weddings, and time with loved ones, living out of a suitcase for months at a time, spending night after night alone in hotel rooms. These were the hidden costs of greatness, things fans never see on the scoreboards or the highlight reels. Today, when Karrie reflects on her past, she does it with a kind of peace. She's not bitter, she's not angry, she's proud that she stayed true to herself even when the world wanted her to be someone else. And for fans who are just now hearing her full story, it's clear, Karrie Webb wasn't just a champion on the course. She was a champion off of it too, fighting battles that most people never even knew were there. If you thought her trophies told the whole story, wait until you see the legacy she built beyond the scoreboards. Today, as Karrie Webb looks back on everything she's accomplished, the world is starting to see her story in a new light. Younger players, especially young Australian golfers, speak openly about how much she paved the way for them. One of the brightest stars, Minjee Lee, has often said that Karrie's success helped open doors that would have been much harder to walk through otherwise. Karrie didn't just inspire them with her wins, she showed them it was possible to dream bigger, to go further, and to compete with the best in the world. Her impact stretches far beyond Australia. Karrie was one of the first players to truly globalize women's golf. She showed that you didn't have to be American to dominate the LPGA Tour. Her success encouraged more international players to take the leap and chase their dreams in the United States and beyond. Today, the LPGA is filled with incredible talent from South Korea, Europe, Australia, and other parts of the world, and Karrie Webb helped set that foundation. Without her early success, the game wouldn't look as international and vibrant as it does today. People are also rethinking the parts of Karrie's story that were once criticized. Her serious, competitive nature, the same qualities that some people said made her distant, are now seen for what they really were, signs of a true champion. In today's world, where we talk much more openly about mental health, personal boundaries, and the pressures athletes face, it's easier to understand why Karrie kept her circle small and stayed so focused. She wasn't being cold, she was protecting herself, doing what she needed to do to survive and thrive in a tough, demanding world. As more players share their gratitude and respect for her, it's clear that Karrie Webb's legacy isn't just about the trophies or the titles, even though those are impressive. Her real legacy is about strength, resilience, and quiet leadership. She led by example, not by shouting for attention. She built a path through hard work and heart, and now younger generations of women's golfers are walking that path with pride. At 50, Karrie Webb is no longer just a champion golfer. She's an icon, a mentor, and a symbol of what it means to stay true to yourself in a world that often tries to shape you into something else. Her story, once misunderstood, is now being celebrated for what it truly is, a journey of courage, excellence, and quiet. Powerful change. Can't wait to find out what success really means to Karrie Webb? We're almost there. But first, let's take a look at the peaceful life she's built today. After decades of traveling, competing, and living under the microscope, Karrie Webb's life today is much quieter and a lot more peaceful. She spends most of her time back home in Australia, close to where she grew up. These days, she enjoys a slower pace of life, one that doesn't involve airports, endless tournaments, or the pressure to prove herself every week. It's not that she stopped loving golf. She just decided it was time to live life on her own terms. Even though she's no longer chasing trophies, Karrie hasn't left the game behind. She still plays golf, but now it's for fun, for connection, and for the simple love of the sport that first captured her heart as a little girl. She also plays a quieter but powerful role as a mentor. Through scholarships, personal advice, and private coaching, she helps young Australian golfers, especially women, chase their dreams. She doesn't seek credit or headlines for this work. That's never been her style. But those she mentors often talk about how deeply her guidance and encouragement have shaped their careers. Beyond golf, Karrie has found other ways to give back. She's quietly supported charities that focus on education, health, and LGBTQ+ rights. Having spent so much of her career feeling like she had to hide part of herself, Karrie now stands proudly behind causes that promote acceptance and understanding. She knows firsthand how important it is for young people, in sports and beyond, to feel seen, heard, and safe. Karrie has also spoken about how she finally feels like she can enjoy life without constantly being judged. She can spend time with family. She can travel for pleasure instead of work. She can laugh more, breathe easier, and appreciate simple things. A coffee with friends, a morning walk, a round of golf with no scorecard. These are things she missed during her prime years, and now she savors them. While she might no longer stand at the center of the golf world spotlight, Karrie Webb's presence is still deeply felt. She is proof that life after fame can be rich, meaningful, and full of quiet victories. She has shown that stepping away doesn't mean fading away. It can mean stepping into something even more beautiful. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Let's hear what success really means to Karrie Webb today. When you ask Karrie Webb today what success means to her, the answer sounds very different from the one she might have given during her trophy-winning years. Success, she says, is not about the number of trophies you have on a shelf. It's not about being in the spotlight or having your name in headlines. It's about living your truth. It's about being able to look in the mirror and know that you didn't lose yourself along the way. Karrie says that if there's one thing she's proudest of, it's not the 41 LPGA wins or the 7 major titles, though those are incredible achievements. It's the fact that she stayed true to who she was, even when it would have been easier to give in to the pressure to be someone she wasn't. In a world that often tries to shape women into a certain image, especially in sports, Karrie held her ground. She didn't fake a bubbly personality to get more sponsorships. She didn't chase fame. She chose authenticity, even when it came with a cost. To young athletes today, especially young women, Karrie's message is simple but powerful. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. You just have to be real. It's a message that reaches far beyond golf. It's about life, about identity, about self-respect. In many ways, Karrie's legacy isn't written in the record books, though her records are impressive. Her real legacy lives in the players she's inspired, the walls she helped break down, and the quiet courage she showed by being herself. She showed that you could be fierce without being flashy, strong without shouting, and great without giving up who you are inside. As she moves into this next chapter of her life, Karrie Webb leaves us with a powerful truth. Real greatness isn't just about what you win, it's about who you become along the way. And in that sense, Karrie Webb's greatest victory may be the one she never needed a trophy to prove. We hope you enjoyed diving into the real story behind Karrie Webb's incredible journey, from small-town dreams to golf legend and everything she faced along the way. Subscribe to get an inside look at the legendary careers, private lives, and amazing journeys of the world's best golfers. And don't stop here. Watch the next videos for more inspiring stories from the world of golf.